All right, welcome back, everyone. Let's take a look at limits at a point. All right, so one of the things we always want to remember when we're looking at the limit of something as it's approaching a certain point is always to simplify before we start doing too much. So when I look at the top and the bottom here, the numerator and the denominator, I see, I could factor this. So if we factor, we are now looking at the limit, as x approaches 1. I'm going to factor, right? X plus 1, x minus 1, all over x minus 1, right? As soon as I do that, I can cancel because I have the same factor, top and bottom, and the question becomes much easier, right? Now I'm just looking at the limit, all right? These are the same. The limit as x approaches 1 of just x plus 1. And now I can directly substitute in 1, right? So 1 plus 1, I get my answer 2. Perfect. All right, next. I'm looking at this function, and it's the limit of this function as x approaches 3. So again, first thing, before I worry too much about anything, I'm going to always look to simplify. So if I simplify, I'm now looking at the limit of this function, still as we approach 3, of course. I can see I have a common factor of a 2 and also an x. So I'm going to factor out a 2x. What's left? Just x my first term. And if I take a 2x out in my second term, I have 3. Right? And I could always double check my factoring's correct by just multiplying it back out, right? 2x plus x, times x would be 2x squared. 2x times negative 3 would give me negative 6x. And that was all over, oops, hit my pen here. That was all, sorry about that. Undo. Anywho, that was all over x minus 3. And again, I can factor, right? And so now I'm just looking at a much easier limit question of what's the limit of 2x as x approaches 3? Well, we know that's 6, right? We can directly substitute that in, and we get 6. All right, moving on to my third question. Same kind of thing, right? Factoring is one of those skills that we will never be able to get rid of. It's very useful. So let's factor. I can factor in my top and my bottom, right? What are two factors of negative 6 that are going to add to x? Well, that is going to be, let's see. We're going to have, what are those two factors? Let's see. So 3 and 2. How about 3 and 2, right? If I have positive 3x, oops, not x, silly. If I have positive 3, one more, and I have negative 2, right? 3 times negative 2 gives me negative 6, and if I add them, I get 1. And then if I factor my denominator, I can take a 2 out, and I'm left with x minus 2 here. And thankfully, I see, oh, wow, this is really convenient. And again, all these questions in our textbooks and our whatever program we're using, they're all very similar, right? I don't want to call them contrived, but they kind of are, right? We want to use those same basic skills over and over, like factoring. Usually, we'll be able to factor. Not always, but that's why we always want to look for it. And now we can directly plug in 2 there, and we get 5/2. Great, so the limit of this function is just 5/2. And lastly, I look over here, same kind of thing. Oh, look, I should be able to factor, right? What two factors of negative 6 are going to add to the negative 1 that's in here? Well, let's rewrite. All right, so those two factors are what? Well, how about a 4 and a 3, right, to get to a 1? And the 4 is going to have to be larger to get a negative 1, right? So x minus 4 and x, oops, forgot to write the x here, x plus 3. And thankfully, that cancels. And be careful, right? A lot of people are going to do the wrong thing of forget there's a numerator, right? Isn't there still a numerator? What's up here? 1, right? Don't let this x plus 3 that's left over float up to the numerator, right? Always make sure you realize where you are, whether you're in the numerator or in the denominator, or else we're going to get quite a different question. And now I can plug in, as before, my x for as x approaches 4. Well, nothing's stopping me from putting the 4 right in now and getting a 1/7. Hope this was helpful. We'll see you next time.